Hello YouTube, this is Kiryu904, and we've reached the final episode of 2023's Foreign Fright Fest. Today we'll be finishing off this marathon with the direct-to-video J-horror film, Ju-on, also known by its English title, Ju-on TheCurse. Released in 2000, this was written and directed by famed Japanese filmmaker Takashi Shimizu, and was the first feature-length installment in the Ju-on franchise. This was preceded by the two short horror films In a Corner and 10 Fours in 1998 that were also made by Shimizu. Just a quick warning before we begin, this review will contain spoilers. The story is told in a non-linear fashion, which would become a staple of the Ju-on series. We start off with text explaining Ju-on, which is a curse born of someone who dies in the grip of a powerful grudge. It gathers in the location where the person died, and anyone who encounters it will die and a new curse will be made. After that, and the movie's title card, we meet our main protagonist, elementary school teacher Shunsuke Kobayashi, arriving home to his pregnant wife Manami. They get to talking, and Kobayashi mentions how one of his students, Toshio, has been absent from school for some time. It turns out Toshio is the son of his teacher's old college friend Kayako Saki, who was, according to Manami, a little creepy. The next day, Kobayashi goes over to Toshio's house and finds the boy leaning out of the bathroom window, who then falls back inside. The concerned teacher rushes in through the unlocked door and brings him to the living room, checking the kid over before asking questions like why he hasn't been to school and where his parents are. Toshio only responds that his mom and dad are outside, and Kobayashi starts to casually look out of one of the windows. He then starts to hear the sound of a cat meowing, not realizing that it's actually the boy behind him making the sound. Next, we cut to sometime in the future where the Murakami family now resides in the Saki house. Teenage daughter Kana is studying with her tutor Yuki, while the mother, Noriko, goes out shopping. Yuki has a distinct fear of cats and is a bit unnerved upon learning that there have been a few roaming the property. She also begins to notice a strange sound that only she can hear. Before long, though, Kana realizes that she's late in feeding the rabbits at her school and rushes out, leaving Yuki alone, who starts to hear a steady croaking noise. To distract from this, the tutor puts on some music from her CD player, only for it to keep skipping until she switches it off. The croaking sound from earlier grows louder, scaring Yuki enough to try and leave. However, the hallway inexplicably turns dark, and a black cat emerges from the shadows, spooking Yuki to the point where she backs herself into a closet. I know she's supposed to be ailurophobic, and this scene is intended to be frightening, but all I can think when I see this cat is, "Aw, look at the cute kitty. Hey kitty, kitty, kitty." The croaking returns, drawing Yuki up to the attic to investigate, which is when something from the dark rushes towards her, stopping just in front of her face. A terrified Yuki turns on her lighter, illuminating a pale, black-haired woman who violently drags her up into the attic. The family's teenage son, Tsuyoshi, leaves the house to meet his girlfriend Mizuho at the school, completely oblivious to the tutor's disappearance. We then see Mizuho herself arrive at the school looking for Tsuyoshi, only to find his bike parked nearby as well as a cell phone lying on the ground. After waiting around for a while, she's reprimanded by a teacher for staying late before telling her about the missing Tsuyoshi. The teacher brings Mizuho to the teacher's room and attempts calling for the teenage boy over the school's intercom. She then goes looking for him, telling Mizuho to remain in the teacher's room while she does so. The young girl uses the cell phone she found to call Tsuyoshi's house and is told by Noriko that he isn't home. She tries turning on the lights, but they go out, which is when she loses the call. Bored by this point, Mizuho flicks a lamp switch on and off to amuse herself until it stops working. She looks under the desk and discovers the plug has been mysteriously pulled from the outlet. Mizuho plugs it back in before she suddenly sees a pair of pale legs run past her. She's then startled when the cell phone starts ringing and slowly reaches up to answer it, only for her hand to brush up against the pale foot. This causes her to scream while a small figure can be heard running across the desk. This soon stops, but the phone continues ringing. Mizuho slowly gets out from underneath the desk and sees 10 fours on the phone's caller ID. In Japanese, the word for four is pronounced very similar to the word for death. She's scared by this at first, but decides to answer it, hearing a cat's meow on the other end. The girl feels something grab her arm and slowly turns to see a pale young boy gripping it. The boy lets out a long meow from his own mouth before it cuts to black. Next, we see two police detectives investigate a severely mutilated body found at the school. The coroner shows them a human jaw that was found nearby and says that it doesn't belong to the body they found. A cadet then informs them that a witness saw Kana and another girl, Hisayo, come to the school to feed the rabbits. One detective ponders to his colleague whether a person could survive without their jaw, which is when we return to the Saki house. Noriko comes back from shopping to find the house empty and receives the call from Mizuho concerning Tsuyoshi's whereabouts. During this, someone enters the house and begins walking upstairs, and Noriko, thinking it's Tsuyoshi, calls up after them, only to find a trail of blood leading to a very bloody and disheveled figure jerkily ascending the staircase. The frightened woman asks who they are, and the figure slowly turns around, revealing a jawless Kana, causing her mother to scream. We finally cut back to Kobayashi telling his wife over the phone that Toshio's parents haven't returned yet, and that he'll be late coming home. He then hears the meowing again and looks in the bathroom for the source, only to have a brief vision of bloody hands and a dead cat. Going back to the living room, he sees that Toshio has vanished, prompting him to search for the boy. He quickly hears him upstairs, conversing with a female voice, but when the teacher finds Toshio in the upper bedroom, he's completely alone. Kobayashi asks who he was talking to, but doesn't get an answer, noticing all the creepy drawings of the kid's parents and family cat. It's then he hears the feminine voice call his name, drawing the man into another room. There, he finds a journal belonging to Kayako detailing her love and obsession for Kobayashi. He's unnerved by this and turns to leave, which is when the sound of flies brings him to the closet. The teacher flicks on his lighter, and is horrified to discover the body of Kayako Saki in a trash bag within the attic. Which is weird because wouldn't he be able to smell it given it's been up there a while? Anyway, he runs and grabs Toshio, intending on getting the hell out of there, until he receives a call on his cell phone. On the other end is a very bloody and unstable Takeo Saki, husband of Kayako, who ominously tells him that his child was just born. Which means the guy went over to his house and ripped the fetus from his wife, killing both Manami and her baby. This causes Kobayashi to fall down in shock, while Toshio briefly talks to an unknown person over the man's phone. Soon, however, he witnesses the pale and bloody form of Kayako Saki slowly crawl down the stairs towards him, releasing an eerie croaking sound as she does so. The terrified teacher quickly backs away as Toshio begins meowing. It turns out that Kayako, her son, and their cat are all now vengeful spirits who were murdered by Takeo after he discovered the journal and grew insanely jealous of his wife's love for Kobayashi, thus creating a Ju-on. Kobayashi attempts to escape, but Kayako appears behind him through the front door, stares down at him, and then lunges at him, killing the man with a heart attack. Back with Takeo, he violently bashes the fetus against everything in the street before Kayako materializes out of a trash bag and kills him. We then return to the future, where the Saki house is now under the ownership of the Suzuki Realty firm, run by Tatsuya Suzuki. Following the mysterious deaths of most of the Murakami family, he brings in his clairvoyant sister, Kyoko, to look over the house. The psychic woman is instantly put off by the property, and she makes her way upstairs, actually seeing Kayako herself. She then has Tatsuya bring her a bottle of sake, which she takes a drink of and spits out, finding it tastes awful. Kyoko tells her brother to leave the sake in the upstairs bedroom since it's sensitive to spirits, and to make anyone who wishes to buy the house take a drink themselves. If they find it tastes bad, they shouldn't be sold the place. The woman quickly departs, leaving a slightly confused Tatsuya in her wake. He tries the sake himself and doesn't find it bad. Later on, Kyoko learns that the house was sold to a married couple and goes over to check up on things. She spots the wife standing by one of the windows, and upon locking eyes with her, realizes that she's now been possessed by the spirit of Kayako Saki, and the film ends. So, that was Ju-on, and it is, in my opinion, one of the best J-horror movies ever made, right up there alongside Ring and Pulse. It has such an unsettling ambiance, and really takes its time in building up tension and suspense. It also doesn't rely on gory shock value, instead allowing slow moments of eerie silence to supply the scares, which makes the scenes where there is gore far more effective. Many other scenes were shot and framed in ways that helped add to the growing dread throughout the movie. There was some great acting from the cast as well. The child actor playing Toshio was perfectly creepy, while the scene with Takeo in the phone booth was particularly chilling. Though, to highlight some negatives of the film, some of the CG effects haven't aged well, and the character Kobayashi seemed a little bland. For the most part, he had rather flat and subdued reactions to the strange things happening, as well as the news that both his wife and unborn child were killed. The movie received massive critical praise when it came out, and spawned a huge franchise over the subsequent years, including sequels, spin-offs, a reboot, a crossover with Ring, and an American remake series. It also made horror icons out of Kayako and Toshio Saki. In conclusion, I count Ju-on as essential viewing for anyone who's into J-horror. Well, we finally reached the end of 2023's Foreign Fright Fest. I hope you've all enjoyed it, and check back in next October for more chilling flicks from overseas. Be sure to leave a comment, thumbs up if you enjoyed this movie review, and subscribe if you'd like to see more. You can also follow me on Twitter. Goodbye, and have a happy Halloween, everyone.